I want to talk about the credentialing program and how we develop it and what the vision for it is, and how I think it can work side by side with the co-op development in home care. As you have heard from a lot of the presenters this morning, you know, there really is a crisis around long-term care in workforce, that we have like three strands that are conflicted with one another, and yet we have to address them all in order to resolve this issues. We have a massive demand for home care building. We have a severe turnover and shortage of direct care workers and other healthcare professions. And at the same time, we don't have an infrastructure that would support the development and stabilization of the workforce. And obviously, as you heard Joy earlier, and we all know from reading the newspapers and knowing what's going on in our local communities, the states don't have any money. And the first places they're going to cut services are human healthcare and social services, which is where our millions of people and families get services that they need to be stable, healthy, live in their communities with their loved ones. And in terms of, so we are crying for structures and solutions that will stabilize the workforce, save money, and raise the status of the direct care workforce and other healthcare professions. So the situation with the direct care workers is that they're undervalued, they're underappreciated, they're underpaid. Is primarily a women's work. The majority of the workers in that workforce are women. And because of all of those barriers, they've never received really appreciation or the development of a structure that would give them the value and the respect that they deserve for the work that they perform. And when I ask people often about the creation of a career ladder, the answer that comes back is, well, maybe we can come up with a training program and some opportunity for them to become nurses. And to me, that answer it shows the lack of understanding and the lack of knowledge with the direct care workforce. While there is a minority of direct care workers that would like the opportunity to become nurses, the vast majority of them don't. And what is more important is that we focus on appreciating and learning about the value of the work that they are already doing. So let me give you a couple of examples of really the profile of the direct care worker through a very famous woman who you probably have, some of you might have heard of, but if you Google her, you'll find her compelling story. Her name is Evelyn Koch, and for 20 years, she worked for the same home care agency in New York City. During that time, she never received minimum wage. She had little or no access to health care. But more importantly for this part of the discussion is she never received any recognition for the additional skills that she acquired during that time. If you're a direct care worker, and you heard it a little bit in Stacy's presentation, is you're going to be working in different settings, caring for different types of population. In Tracy's case, she came out of a nursing home as a certified nursing assistant, and then moved into the community to care for different elder adults or people with disabilities with different skills. And what happens with direct care workers when you're thrown into this job is they might have a training program. The state might require a training program. The levels of training that the states require varies from state to state. There is no standard, no national standard. Or they may not even require a training program, and then you're going to learn on the job. And if you Google some of the speeches that Tracy has done, she goes into detail about how scary and terrifying it was for her to try to do things that are very intimate and very specific skills and activities for human beings, and not having received the training required for that. And I'm going to share a story of how I became interested in elder care and workforce issues. I am an elder and disability rights lawyer by training. I practice in Wisconsin, and I'm very active in advocating for elders. And I had a client who had recovered from a stroke. She was a retired nurse, had worked for all of her life, providing health and care for others. And one day, and she contacted me so I could help her with her will and power of attorneys, because she wanted to make sure that her wishes were taken into account if something happened to her. I was working on that for her when one day I got a call from her caregiver. And I never forget the feeling that I had at that moment, because the direct care worker said, you know, I don't know what's happening with my client. She is stiff and is having difficulty talking, and I'm looking here through her papers, and I see that your number is in there. And I said, hang up and call 911. Don't do anything else. And I remember sitting there completely frozen in terror and realizing, oh my God, this particular worker did not receive proper training to identify the indications that the person might be having a stroke, which time is of the essence in that situation. So when the Direct Care Alliance, so what I'm saying is that direct care workers spend decades sometimes in the profession because they care about caring for another human being. It's a particular kind of individual that wants to do that. But yet they never receive any recognition or training for that. In the meantime, states are pouring a lot of money into training that is not tested, validated. We don't know what that training goes for. I hear from direct care workers that I keep sent to this training or that other training, I don't know where it gets me. They have to pay money for their gas to go to the training. Sometimes they have to pay for out of their own pocket. It's a very fractured system that has little logic in it. And so when we looked at that situation as the advocate for the direct care workforce in a way to, and looking for ways to stabilize the profession, the Direct Care Alliance said with help with funding from the Ford Foundation to develop a national credentialing program so that we can set a gold standard for home care. And the vision for it is that we're going to create, that is the first building block to create a career ladder. So the first credential is for them to become personal care and support professionals. And that would be the first time that we'll be able to say, you know, you're a professional because you're providing essential supports and services in the home to people with disabilities and older adults. And so the larger vision is that then we will create additional specialties that direct care workers will be able to prove and test their knowledge. This will, our goal and our outcomes are going to be that it will stabilize the workforce. It will create a gold standard of care that we can all agree on. The way it was developed is by doing focus groups with direct care workers, with employers, elders, people with disabilities, and supervisors, so that we can actually learn and figure out what are the essential required competencies to care for someone in the home. And so what we need now, we're in the process of implementing that program, and we've gotten a lot of really good feedback from a lot of employers and families and consumers that are really need to be able to know that the person that they're hiring has a certain skill. Direct care workers are incredibly excited because they're going to be able to prove that they have what it takes to provide the care. And employers are going to be able to focus and nurture a type of professional and caregiver that will stay with them. And our hope is that this is going to one of the tools that's going to stabilize the profession. And if you think about it from the families and older adults' perspective, it is a very scary world out there. If you are a family member or an older adult and all of a sudden you realize that care in the home needs to be provided, what are your options? You put an ad in the paper and you hope that you can assess the person and make the right choice. And I don't know about you, but I find that terrifying if you don't have the proper training or background. or you get an employer from a home care agency, or what happens many occasions is a family member will have to volunteer, which includes a lot of personal sacrifices, both economic and personal, for the family members, and hope that everything works out. People really are on their own trying to figure this out. So we feel that the credential is a specific strategy to stabilize the workforce, but also to give peace of mind in a tool to both elders, people with disabilities, and direct care workers. And we're going to need the support of everyone to get this moving forward. The way I think that this can work very well with a cooperative model is that the co-op as a leadership development, that member owner model, can really benefit from having a tool that can say, look, our workers are credentialed, they've been certified by the Direct Care Alliance, a national nonprofit with the focus on improving the profession, and that will also help us in developing the credential further. There are other opportunities around this system that can be taken advantage of. One of the issues that we have discussed, and why I think healthcare co-ops are a good idea, is that this workforce is very fragmented, isolated, as well as the consumers. So whenever there is a need to get data on the direct care workforce that works in community settings, it's extremely difficult. There are no requirements for data gathering for home care agencies. So while we know a lot about the nursing home industry, what hours they work, what benefits they get, we know very little about the home care industry, and we know even less about this fastest growing gray market where people are being paid under the table, and all kinds of horrifying things can happen.